And now, please join me in welcoming Michiel Huisman, who many of you might know as Dario Naharis in one of the most watched television shows in history, Game of Thrones, but who children around the world know as a champion for Save the Children. Jesse Hartness from Save the Children, and David Muir of World News, ABC's World News Tonight, one of the most, or the most watched television newscast, ABC World News Tonight with David Muir. Please join me.
I'm going to take this whole bench myself.
I guess so.
Great to be here, and it's sort of an incredible thing because this is the very first Dads+Social Good Summit.
It was about time.
Right? It's about time. Dads are important. Yeah. Father's Day is coming, National Refugee Day is coming, and it's an honor to be back. I think they invited us for the first moms in social good, so we're bringing this all full circle here. Yeah. Great to be here with you both, Michiel and Jesse, and we're here just to get the conversation going in terms of how people all over the world can actually help. I think people get overwhelmed when they hear the numbers, and some of the numbers right now that we've been reporting in the news are overwhelming about the famine, on the verge of famine in 4 countries now at once, 20 million people at risk of starvation. We're just back from Somaliland. We did a piece on the extraordinary efforts there by Save the Children. Jesse, I know you just went. And Michiel, you just went to Uganda, the largest refugee settlement camp in the world.
Bidi, yeah.
Yeah, at this point. So first of all, I just want to open this up and encourage people tweeting about us today or on Facebook watching us live to hear sort of why we all got involved and are trying to get the word out. And Michiel, we'll just sort of start with you. What initially got you interested in sort of making a difference?
Well, I mean, I guess, first of all, becoming a parent, our daughter is just turned 10 last week. So probably becoming a parent started making me more aware about my responsibility or about the world, probably. And it was just about 2 years ago that it came to a point for me that I felt like I need to do something. And Save the Children gave me the opportunity to become an ambassador for them and somehow use my platform to hopefully do something. And you know, one of the reasons why I support Save the Children is because kids are kids, you know. It's never like we can look at some of these places where Save the Children is active and you can, you know, look at it from a political point of view and think like, should we be doing this? No, of course we should be doing this. Mm-hmm. If we don't support these kids, if we don't support these families, the situation is never going to change for them, you know.
We always talk about the resiliency of the children that we meet. That picture just before, this is Somaliland, this was just a couple of weeks ago. And look at the smiles on their faces.
No, I know.
Right?
That's the bizarre thing that I can tell that you experienced as well. I had the same feeling when I was in Uganda 2 weeks ago, that the situation is pretty dire, you know, and they really need our support. But the resilience of the people, especially the kids, is just mind-blowing.
Jesse, you were just in Somaliland. This was at one of your mobile clinics.
Yep.
Save the Children's doing incredible work. And you can see the children there. They were excited to be there. They were waiting sort of in this remote area. We traveled to many of the villages. And Carolyn, of course, was there with us, the American head of Save the Children. Talk to us about the emergency health services that you're providing, both in nutrition and in medical care.
I think one of the things that most people don't realize is that children, like you said, children are children, and they're dying of things that people don't die of in the United States. They're dying of really simple things like chest infections from being exposed to the elements, from diarrhea from being exposed to contaminated water and food, from malaria from being bitten by mosquitoes. These are things that children here don't die from because we have very basic, simple treatments. And this is what Save the Children does. We provide the basic health care for refugees. We're working in about 24 refugee camps at the moment. We provide services through mobile clinics or through support to clinics that are on the ground through supplies and training of staff and really just trying to get those simple services up and running.
I visited one of those clinics in my last trip to Uganda in Bidi. It was a really intense experience, you know. It's this kind of stuff you see in the news or something, right? All of a sudden you're standing in a clinic with moms and some dads with little kids that are almost all suffering from malaria, right? And these families are lucky. They're in the clinic, and it's very treatable, you know, as long as there's a clinic and there's medication, of course.
That's what you said, something that we hear often out there. We heard it in Somaliland. The doctor who was sort of leading the charge in one of the hospitals that we visited said, you know, these are the lucky ones. And that's an extraordinary thing to hear when you're standing there and they look like they have nothing but skin and bones left. And they'll be the ones that'll tell you, no, that's improvement because she's sitting up on that particular day. And I think for people who are sort of, and we hope that people watching us all over the world are tweeting and using the hashtag social good, global dads. Use global moms. We're all for moms too, but this is the first ever global dads. And I just don't want people to be overwhelmed when they hear about sort of what we witness and what you see on the news without having tools to make change. And one of the things I carry around in my work bag almost all the time, I took it out because I've been in security doesn't always love seeing the plumpy nut in the bag. They wonder what the heck that is. But plumpy nut is this crazy thing that it's so easy and you can make a difference. It's what, $1 a day for 2 of the packets, and that can help in the very early stages bring a child back.
Yeah, it's basically fortified peanut butter that a mom can take home with her and feed to her child. And you see very rapid recovery, and it's very simple and affordable.
Yeah. And how do you try to get the word out to folks, Michiel, who want to help, but also feel like it's this enormous problem over there?
Yeah. How do I get the word out? Well, I guess just by showing that I care. I hope I can inspire some people around me and my family, my daughter, and maybe some of my fans.
You take a lot of photographs, and you bring the photographs back with you. His daughter just turned 10, and I heard about the birthday party, sort of.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. But the actual photographs serve as sort of a lesson, and you can draw from that. Do you ever show her what you bring back?
Yeah, I do. But the photographs, it just started just as I didn't really have a plan, but it's turning out to be such a great way for me to make my story about these trips more personal, and an easy way to connect with the people I meet. I only use wide lenses, so whenever I take a picture, I'm like this close to the kids and the people I meet. So I love that interaction. And yes, when I come home, it is a great way for me to share that with my kid as well. The only problem is she often then goes to like, okay, yeah, that's nice, but you have to reframe this. You have to pump up the shadows a little bit, go back with the highlights. I'm like, well, I took this picture, you know. But
they know like Instagram filters at 10.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
it's kind of
but it's a very good way for us to start the conversation.
Tell us about this moment.
So this was in Zaatari, a refugee camp in Jordan. With Syrian kids that were in a Save the Children program where they learned a skill, and these kids were all learning how to become a barber. And once they finish the training, they get all the tools, everything they need, except for the chair. There was one barber chair in this place, and so they get scissors and combs and all that stuff. And so we decided to take this picture, and I was really thinking, like, is he going to do it or not? I don't know why he didn't.
He should have.
He should have totally done it.
Hair grows back. Hair grows back really quickly.
Well, figure it out. Get a wig for Game of Thrones or something. Yeah.
One of the striking things, though, when we traveled to the Lebanon border was the number of children who not only haven't had school, and these are all middle-class Syrian families who have been living on the Lebanon border for years now.
Yes.
We went at the 3-year mark, and now it's been 3 years since. And these children, in the morning, there's no school bus to pick them up. And we always try to think of ways here in the U.S. to report on something so that it lands, so people remember it. So we framed it at the beginning of the school year, and there's no school year there. The trucks pick them up and take them out to the fields. And I was struck by one father who you could see the anguish in his face knowing that his daughter was going off to work in the fields to support the family. And then through our reporting, we learned that the daughter's out in the field get paid less than even the sons in the field because they say the young girls are weaker than the boys. So these farmers are profiting off of child labor.
Yeah.
But the children have smiles on their faces when they jump on the truck because they know that after the fields, the makeshift schools that I know Save the Children and also UNICEF are involved with, some of the schools that we had seen. But I know, Jesse, you have seen this too, sort of the strength of the children in the face of lives that have changed in an instant. They had a normal life, a life that we in America could relate to, going to school in the morning, and then all of a sudden that's ripped from them, and they adjust immediately.
Yeah. I think we all can be comforted in our routines, and when you don't have those routines, when you don't have the school to go to, you don't have the route that you take home from school. There's a lot of that we can do with children who have been uprooted from that, and make them comfortable and give them safe spaces where they can play, where they can be children, where they can talk a little bit about what they've experienced. I know you, Michiel, also had an experience like that where you talked to a young girl as well.
Yes, many experiences like that. I'm just, as I was listening to you, I was thinking about a conversation I had with my own mom last week when I was telling her about my trip to my recent trip to Uganda, and I was telling her about, some of the programs that Save the Children was running, and so I was talking about this child-friendly space, which I really enjoyed visiting, where kids in a safe and sort of protected area get to come together every day and play, and organized play, and traditional dance and all kinds of stuff is happening. And then my mom was saying, yeah, but okay, that's nice, but don't we need to make sure that they get food first? And I was like, yes, of course. Thank God these people are in the camp. They won't die of hunger anymore, even though they don't have a lot of food. Some of the families I met, they get one ration of food a month, and that's what they share on one plate every day, one meal a day, and they take tiny bites because it has to last them a month. They will survive on that. But they're kids too, and they need to play, and they need to learn through play and be together, and we can't just say, just make sure they have enough food or something.
Yeah. You have nieces and nephews, a lot of them. We were doing the count before we came out here on the stage. 10, right?
Yeah, the pressure's off for me at the moment.
Yeah. He was saying a very active family. But you bring back lessons too. And how do you make it relatable for them? And it's always a fine line not to instill fear, but to make them grateful for what we have, and maybe let them know that there are children out there who need their help.
I think one of the best things my parents did for me was on the fridge, they had all of our pictures up, and they also had 2 pictures up of a little boy from Kenya and a little boy from India. And I found out later that they sponsored those children every month. They sent their families a little bit of money.
Right.
And we would correspond with them through letters every month. We would hear a little bit about their lives. They would hear a little bit about our lives. And we actually watched them grow up with us. And that really instilled a sense of other people and other people's lives from a young age in me. And I try to do that with my nieces and nephews. I try to tell them stories, show them pictures, and just talk a little bit about the kids that I see who are kids just like them, but don't have everything that they have.
Yeah, it's funny. I have a couple of nieces. I'm not near 10, but I have 4. And it's funny, I don't make my family watch the news, but I do on these particular pieces when we come back, because you can't get the images out of your head. And I know that they'll be moved, and their eyes will be opened if they see them. And I've sort of seen it along the way in what they're studying now and in their internships at Advice this summer, because they want to do the same kind of storytelling. But it's always the children. I carry around this iPhone. It serves as, I see you have a fancier camera than mine, but I have so many pictures of the children that I've met on my iPhone. When I download them on my computer, I save it there, but I keep them on the phone for a reason. And I remember each and every one of them when you look at them, and I'm sure you've had this experience. The image that's sort of seared in memory are the ones where, like, I can see this little boy with his little jersey, the number 9 on it, reaching up to me at the Syrian orphanage for Syrian children. It was actually on the Lebanon side. And I wonder, still 3 years later, who's taking care of that boy, those children who wanted me to go out and play with them in the soccer yard.
I know, yeah. It's funny, we're looking at a picture here that I took in Bidi Bidi. And this young man, he's an example of a couple of people that I met who are more or less in the same situation. While they were fleeing South Sudan, they found unaccompanied kids that had lost their parents somehow. In this case, these two little boys, their mom, the story was their mom went to the market as they were traveling to Uganda. They stopped somewhere, they went to a market, she never came back. The dad was arrested, and they were told by soldiers to keep going straight.
Yeah.
And this young man, Joshua, found them and decided to take them under his wings. So he now lives in Bidi with his wife, and they didn't have kids themselves, and he's now taking care of these two kids. And it was
26, right?
Yeah, he's 26, yeah, and it's, you know, he also now volunteers for Save the Children at different programs, and but it's just a great example of what can we give our kids, or how can we teach our kids to be social aware. So this young man was not their biological father. He now became their foster parent, and he's showing them what social good is by example. You know, he's taking care of these kids. And so in other words, you don't have to be a dad.
No, sadly, people are forced into being parents. And lucky that they have this 26-year-old. So that's a really important point. You are a dad, but for everybody watching here, you know, in various forms of social media today, you don't have to be a mother or a father in order to become a mother or father. Even a child you might not even have the chance to meet. And just remember that, so that it doesn't feel like something that's really far away. And after we came back from Somaliland, this is kind of an incredible thing. Because of what's happening in America right now in politics, and it's so polarized in this country, we wondered, will our viewers have an appetite for something so far away and something that can be overwhelming? And not only did they have an appetite for it, they gave in a way that we had never seen before. They always give, the viewers always, they always surprise us with how willing they are to help people halfway around the world. But this time, you know, within just 2 or 3 days.
It was overwhelming, it was amazing.
It was about $1 million. And then Save the Children has told me, no, it's more than $2 million by the time it was done. So that shows me that I think maybe in this country, if you can't control the politics or the policy of the moment, people actually watching the news felt like, well, that's one thing I can at least help with. You know, Plumpy Nut I can control. So just remember that, you know, $1 a day for Plumpy Nut, or you can go to Save the Children and explore ways that you can help some of Jesse's teams out there providing emergency medical care. And maybe you could just offer a closing thought, Jesse, about how important that is. If people think, how can I make a difference? What would you urge them to know?
Yeah, like you said, SavetheChildren.org/refugees. You can learn more. You can take your kids on the website, watch some videos, read some stories, donate if you can. There are plenty of children who can be helped with even small actions.
Michiel, I love your story of the dad here who became the dad on the way, and those children whose mother went to the market and never came back. We can't forget that we can actually help children like those who are on their way. Thanks.
And we have to help kids like those.
It's our responsibility.
It is.
I see that it's been blinking at me here saying the time has been up for about 5 minutes. I want to keep going, but it's a pleasure to be up here with you.
Thank you.
Fan of the show.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.